We'd like to start by thanking you all for all the likes, comments, and support on our previous videos. That really keeps us going. Of course, if you like this video, don't hesitate to do the same and hit that subscribe button if you haven't done it already. We've all had, or at least heard about, the quirks and tantrums pets can have. Some of these episodes may completely come from nowhere, while others are a result of a long-term cause. These are usually quite harmless though, and don't end in bloody ordeals. But here are some instances where pets took to their wild side. Harry and Salty. We've all seen those cute pugs floating around the internet being their adorable selves, but have you heard about the two pugs that ate their owner? Nope, your ears are not deceiving you. Two pugs named Harry and Salty were forced to survive after their owner, a 51-year-old man, died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Officers had determined that the two pugs did not have anything to eat and believed they survived by using their owner's head, face, and torso as their food source. BUWALDA. Norman BUWALDA, who was 66 years old, was the chairman of the Canadian Exotic Animal Owners Association. He owned a number of exotic animals, which the neighbors often feared and saw as dangerous. One fateful Sunday, he was on his way to feed his pet, a 650-pound Siberian tiger, when suddenly he was mauled to death. No one really knew what prompted the attack, as there were no witnesses. Apparently, there have been several reports regarding the danger of the animals in his home, but he was never sanctioned for any of them since he was legally entitled to own the animals despite the incidents. ABELL and his wife, ABELL, owned Cougar Bluff Enterprise, an exhibition farmhousing and exhibiting a collection of wolves and big cats, including cougars and a bobcat. According to the reports, everything was in check, but only ABELL was licensed to handle the dirty work. Simba, a 379-pound, 5-year-old African Barbary lion, was one of the animals in the farm. Al and Kathy were both already so comfortable around the lions and felt as though they shared a connection. Everything went wrong, however, when ABELL set out to clean Simba's enclosure by himself, a task he had never done alone before. He had forgotten to close the gate behind him, which eventually resulted to his death. CHARLA NASH. Unlike the others in this video, CHARLA NASH's attacker wasn't actually her own pet. It was Sandra Harold's NASH friend. Harold had called up NASH one day when she couldn't get Travis back into his cage. Travis is a 200-pound common chimpanzee. As you would imagine, things did not go so well between the two. NASH ended up in the hospital with her face mauled off and her life on the line. It took her quite a long time to recover from this and put civil lawsuits between her and Harold's friendship. The chimp was an animal actor who's had appearances in several television shows and commercials, including spots for Coca-Cola and Old Navy. But despite this much exposure and experience, something still caused him to snap and attack Nash. He was shot and killed right after the police got to the scene. Terry Vance Garner. Have you ever imagined setting out to feed your pigs when suddenly you just never return? Well, that's exactly what happened to Terry Vance Garner. His family had been worried and looked for him, only to find him lifeless and most of his body consumed by the pigs. His pigs were more than double the size of usual pigs, weighing up to 700 pounds. At first, it was said that the 69-year-old probably had a heart attack and fell into the enclosure, but considering the size of the pigs, they couldn't discount the possibility of foul play. This led to the assumption that perhaps their abnormally large size is one of the reasons why the pigs had developed a more aggressive behavior, since domestic pigs are rarely violent, and because Garner had reported being bitten by at least one of the pigs before. Andre Lamboga, Whoever thought it would be a good idea to go on a vacation for 2 weeks and not have someone care for your 9 dogs? Well, apparently, this slipped Andre Lambaga's mind. Upon returning to his home, the starving dogs attacked the 50-year-old man, and not in a playful manner. They ended up decapitating and eating their owner. His body has been discovered when the neighborhood guard got curious as to why there was luggage lined up at the front of Lambaga's house days after he arrived home. He approached the house and smelled something foul, and that's when he decided to call the police. According to the local police chief, remnants of his body were scattered around the house. They also found bones of 2 dogs and suspected the other canines had looked at the weaker 2 as prey. James Little. This one is a rather odd story. James Little was diagnosed with diabetes when he was 61 years old. He woke up from a nap and found that his Shiba Inu was nibbing on his toes. If you are wondering why he had not woken up sooner, it's because he had suffered from loss of sensation due to his diabetes. Believe it or not, this was actually the dog's way of looking out for his owner. It had managed to completely chew off the diabetes-infected toes. Therefore, the deceased flesh was now removed. Unlike the other stories, they were both doing just fine after the event, but Little had still decided to put the dog up for adoption. Upon further investigation, local animal control concluded that the dog was not at all dangerous, despite wanting to chew off diabetes-infected toes. Cynthia Lee Gamble. Her friends had always thought of her as fearless. Cynthia Lee Gamble was a longtime animal handler who took care of tigers, wolves, wolverines, coyotes, and foxes. She even produced films about exotic animals and wrote a children's book on leopards. It was a saddening moment for her friends and family when they heard of the single mom's untimely death. A 500-pound Bengal tiger fatally attacked her when one of the drop doors separating the fenced enclosures and the pass-through area was left open. Pine County Sheriff Mark Mansavage said the cat had taken one leap and was on her. This incident left many devastated. Marius Els. Nothing screams betrayal more than being attacked by a pet you've taken care of since you were 5 years old. Unfortunately, this was Marius L's story. His pet was a hippopotamus named Humphrey. In interviews, he would describe it being like his son, but it appears as though the feelings weren't mutual. One day, the 1,200-kilogram hippo brutally attacked Els, and later on, his body was just found submerged in a river that runs through his 400-acre estate. Apparently, this wasn't the first of Humphrey's violent episodes. Reportedly, the hippo has also tried attacking a pair of canoeing along the river. Aside from the hippo, Gamble had also kept over 20 types of exotic animals, and most of them were somewhat dangerous and not at all usual pets like giraffes and rhinos. But apparently, Humphrey was his favorite. Ronald Huff. Ronald Huff was a 42-year-old whose exotic pet collection included 7 Nile monitor lizards that grew up to 6 feet long. After not having been seen for quite a while, Huff's family members had requested authorities to search his studio apartment. Police officers had entered the apartment to find these 7 monitor lizards feeding on Huff's corpse. Even after the autopsy, they still could not conclude what the exact cause of his death was, or if the lizards had anything to do with it. But they are not speculating that the lizards actually attacked and killed Huff. He probably died of natural causes, and it just so happened that no one was feeding the lizards, so they resulted to feeding on their owner. Have you heard about similar stories? Were they as crazy as these ones? Got any pets of your own that you fear might do the deed if worst comes to worst? Comment down below to share your thoughts. Don't forget to like the video and hit that sexy red subscribe button. It only takes a moment and it's totally free.